So I was conflicted about this. JK Rowling got into some trouble again recently, as she always
Hmm.
does. Uh,
Trouble? No, that never happens. Come
I
on.
know, I know,
Team Turf?
I know, being called the turf and all this stuff. She tweeted out a tweet on March 8th that said, "This morning, you told the British public you literally can't define what a woman is. What's the plan? Lift up random objects until you find one that rattles?" Okay, so she's
Hmm.
pushing back.
That is
JK
basically
Rowling,
the plan. She totally nailed it.
she did. She did. JK Rowling, feminist, push back against the whole gender ideology. If you remember from the Matt Walsh video, what does it mean to be a woman? Well, I can't answer that question. Only a woman can define what it means to be a
Hmm.
woman, kind of
Oh,
bullshit
okay.
answer. So you go, okay, that's fine. Someone under JK Rowling says, "You really want your legacy to die on this hill, JK Rowling?"
Hmm.
Okay. JK Rowling says, "Yes, sweetheart."
Oh, hold on a second. Let me get the next tweet up here. Okay.
I
Oh, look
do
at
like that.
this.
I do like the derision there. Yes, sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Sweetheart,
Yes, yes,
doll,
honey.
doll face, snookums.
Yes, Snookums, cuddly buddles, babe. Yes, sweetheart. I'm staying right here on this hill, defending the right of women and girls to talk about themselves, their bodies, and their lives in any way they damn well please. You worry about your legacy. I'll worry about mine. Winky
Oh,
face.
oh, the knife. The
Oof.
knife.
Oof.
Oh,
Oh,
you.
jeez.
I'll worry about my legacy that's going to go on for the next 100 years, and you worry about your legacy that's going to end in pain and obscurity.
Ouch. Oh my God. Just
You know that's what
shoved
she's
the blade.
saying. You know
Oh, that
that's
is
what
what
she's
she's
saying.
saying. Yeah. She's saying,
Yeah,
I'm a big, famous, popular author, and you're some fucking nobody on Twitter with
yeah.
a Wanda Maximoff, avatar. Okay.
Oh, so good, so
Right.
good.
Oh, oh my.
The
This is so weird because, like, at first, we were criticizing J.K. Rowling.
hmm
Remember, like,
I don't remember criticizing
oh
J.K.
no, remember
Rowling.
she's like, oh, Dumbledore's gay. And everyone's like,
Mhm.
what?
Oh yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
The woke
She
off.
Yes, she just randomly made Dumbledore gay. People were like, "Wow,
Right.
this is some like random woke shit that she just added in the books for no reason. It's never brought up whatsoever." And then she's kind of doing the feminist thing for a while, and then all of a sudden she comes out. And she's like, "Listen, listen." And I've read her long post about this, which she wrote a long post about
Mhm.
trans issues, and it's like the most milk toast mild take ever. It's like, oh, I support trans people and the right to transition, but my only concern here is that the category of woman needs to be intact. Okay, there needs to be a categorical difference between a woman and a trans woman. That's really her
Mhm.
main position here. And she doesn't like the
Yes.
idea that someone could just declare themselves a woman, do nothing, and then suddenly like they're just a woman now. She doesn't like that. As a feminist, she has a big problem with that.
This came up in
And
our talk with Jay. Yeah.
this came up with our talk with Jay. Right, right. And she has a very mild take on it too. She doesn't. I mean, that's what's so crazy about this. She's not even against people necessarily transitioning. I don't even know if she's against children transitioning. I don't know if she's talked about this, but she's a very mild take on all this stuff. Then she goes a little bit further, saying, "Oh, she thinks that there are too many people, especially too many little girls, who are falling into social contagion routes and are transitioning when they don't actually have gender dysphoria." And she relates this to herself, saying, when I was a teenager, I had anxiety, I had OCD, I was not confident in my body, I was not confident in my experience as a woman. And she fears that if she grew up now, that she would fall down this rabbit hole of transitioning when she doesn't actually have gender dysphoria. So, whatever. I'd say it's a pretty mild take.
Yes, I agree. So, but also, I don't understand because it's really for me, it's the trans activists that are forcing the issue because trans women are trans women. What's the matter? Why?
Right.
Why are they?
Right.
Why do they?
Right.
They're the ones that created the hill, climbed on top of it, and said you have to hold up your fist and say trans women are women, otherwise you're a bigot. It's their fucking hill.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's a great point.
We
You
have
know,
all sorts of modifiers for all sorts of things, right?
that's, yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's kind of the trick here is that they stake out a new position And then if you're like, wait a minute, I don't stand with this new position, they say, oh, you're gonna die on that hill. It's like, well, wait a minute, you created this fucking hill.
Yes.
I'm down here at the bottom where things were 5 years ago. You built a new fucking hill, and now you're asking me from the top of your stupid shit hill. Your hill literally made of shit that I don't want to be anything part of. I don't want to stand on your smelly, shitty hill. And you're yelling at me about whether I'm gonna die on a hill. I'm here at the ground level, boy. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But
yes, yeah.
Anyway,
so I mean, it just seems strange to me. Right. We're working towards society where trans women are accepted and treated with the same amount of respect as women.
Right.
So I mean,
as anyone. Right.
Yeah. So the trans women thing shouldn't be some sort of derogatory thing where we have to get rid of it and just call them women.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. That's a great point. That's a great point. And it's the same thing with the mental illness label, which is interesting because with gender dysphoria, there's been this big push to be like, oh, gender dysphoria is not a mental illness. You know, what is mental illness? Mental illnesses are social constructs, you know, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard these arguments a million times.
We agree.
They're stupid arguments. Okay. But
they're stupid hold on. I said we agree. Mental illness. Well, mental illness does change. I mean, obviously, homosexuality is once defined as a mental illness. It no longer is. So,
but there's
society does decide what a mental illness is.
Of course, it does. Yeah. Right. And we've talked about a million times the difference between being gay and having gender dysphoria, and why one's classified as a mental illness and why one isn't classified as a mental illness. You know, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, people have tried to turn the Protestant work ethic into a mental illness by calling it workaholism.
Right.
It's like, okay, is it bad to be a workaholic?
I mean,
maybe.
Listen, everything needs balance in life, okay? Like the Avatar, the four nations must be in balance.
The point, mental illness, definitely a social construct, right?
Well, okay, all categories are social constructs definitionally. Right. So it's useless to say a category is a social construct.
Right.
So yeah, but so what? It doesn't matter. The point that I was trying to get to is that they're trying to say, oh, we can't call gender dysphoria mental illness anymore because it's, you know, creates a negative stigma to the label. And I'm like, bitch, what are you talking about? Every person in the world right now is like, I have a mental illness, I have anxiety, I have OCD, I have autism, I have whateverism in order to justify some behavior that they have. And I think it's hilarious that for some reason, everyone wants to blame all their problems on a mental illness or say, you can't attack me, I have a mental illness. But then when it comes to gender dysphoria, suddenly that's the problem. Oh, you're oppressing me if you say that gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It makes no sense. There's no consistency in any of these arguments.
Yes.
So anyway, this brings us to...
is the stream going? Today. The stream's going, right? Have you checked it?
The stream is going. People are watching.
Sweet. All right. Anyway, this little winky... I just want to, before we move on, this winky face I think is adorable. What do you think that winky face is saying? That winky face.
That's the winky face that's saying, fuck you. I hope you die.
I know.
In Minecraft. That's what that winky face says. Okay. That's a pretty intense winky face. There's a middle finger, right? Like right under where the tweet's cut off, there's a giant middle finger. Flexing, bulging muscles with a middle finger right under that winky face.
Who doesn't love the internet? Oh my God, this is amazing.
I kind of hate it. Like, this is so weird because I don't know if you saw, there was like a Russian government official. I think it's the head of the Russian Space Force or something, who tweeted out a fucking meme cartoon of Tom and Jerry. Okay. And someone made this for him because it was like he had Jerry, the little mouse, and it said Ukraine on it. And he kept like ringing a bell that was trying to summon NATO or the US to help him against Russia, which is Tom, the fucking cat. And no one comes. And I'm like, why is the fucking Russian government? People are literally being murdered by the Russian fucking army, and you have a Russian government official who's tweeting out a meme joking about it. like, oh, Russia, like the NATO isn't going to come help Ukraine. I was like, this is the world we live in now, Adam. It's a hellscape of ruin. Like, fuck.
That is kind of the equivalent of the gates over Auschwitz saying work will set you free. It's like that's a fucking
no.
bad
It's worse
joke.
than that. It's like if the gates of Auschwitz had a fucking like Wojak
Tom
on
and
it,
Jerry
like,
meme. Oh yeah,
you're
right.
Like if
You're
the
right.
fucking
It is
Holocaust,
worse.
the concentration camps
It
had a
is
Wojak
worse.
meme on them. No, it had a Virgin Chad meme on them, and it's like, oh, the
my.
Chad. It says work will set you free, and the Virgin says like, oh, I'm gonna die. You know, something horrifying like that. Like this is the world we live in. It's terrible. It's terrible,
You're right.
Adam. I hate it.
You're right. It's so. I don't know. There's parts that are good though.
That's true. That's
the
true.
winky face. The winky face is good.
It is. No, but it's so weird because we live in this world now where celebrities and government officials are like interacting with random trolls.
Yes. Yeah.
And getting triggered by them and yelling at them. And it's so weird because it's been happening for so long that we just kind of take it for granted now, where 4 or 5 years ago, this was bizarre to see this happening.
Yeah, there would be no record of it. Like the incident would have taken place in a grocery store somewhere.
Right. Someone would have been like, JK Rowling, I don't like what you said about trans people in your article. And she's like, oh, well, that's your opinion, man. And then she leaves and no one knows about it, you know?
Okay. So are we moving on to the next tweet?
We're moving
so
on.
The next tweet is where everyone, where the internet caught fire, especially in our space where, you know, we've done a number of streams on Vaush.
Right.
And
So our good friend, libertarian socialist,
Vaush, yes.
Vaush, says in response to the JK Rowling tweet, he says, all JK Rowling had to do was shut the fuck up and she could have been almost uncritically beloved for like a century. Women, be quieter and start apologizing. Challenge.
Okay. I mean, I think
Rowling,
I think the second tweet is honestly a solid joke. I mean,
it is a solid joke, but I don't understand. Like, it's not a joke that someone who's woke as fuck can make.
Mm-hmm.
And
of course,
in trouble.
Of course,
in trouble. And we'll talk about this more when we watch the video, because Vaush tries to kind of downplay it or explain it, and he doesn't really. He doesn't really.
Yeah.
So JK Rowling finds this tweet. Originally I thought this tweet, I could have swore this tweet originally was like a reply to her because that's how I found it. But then I don't know, it seemed to be a separate tweet that he just tweeted out.
Mm-hmm.
JK Rowling finds this tweet somehow and says, what you and your ilk fail to appreciate is how tediously familiar I find your tactics. I had a violent ex-husband who used to tell me my life would be great if only I'd comply. But you're making the same mistake he did. Women like me can't be bullied out of resistance.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
Look at that. Almost 90,000 likes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so a bunch of articles actually were written that
of
were
course.
shitting all over
Yeah. Yes.
For the very misogynistic tweet that he put out to JK Rowling.